Hey there, guys. I'm so excited. The other day I said, I really want to read the Four Agreements. And then I was going through some boxes, and what did I find? The Four Agreements, just a super tiny version. It's not the whole book, but it has the most important part, the Four Agreements. So I'm going to go ahead and read the first agreement here and the little intro with it. Okay, introduction. Everything we do in life is based on the agreements we've made. Agreements with ourselves, with other people, with society, and with God. But the most important agreements are the ones we make with ourselves. In these agreements, we tell ourselves who we are, how to behave, what is possible, what is impossible. We say, this is what I am. I can do certain things and some things I cannot do. One single agreement is not such a problem, but we have many agreements that make us suffer and fail in life. The agreements that come from fear require us to expend a lot of energy, but the agreements that come from love help us to conserve energy and even gain more energy. So agreements in this thought process are obviously a type of belief, right? And we base beliefs are just thoughts we continue to think, but those are creative beliefs. And in this case, they're agreements, and they build our lives. And what I love it's pointing at here is fear-based agreements suck the life out of us. And love-based agreements or beliefs are life-giving. This is that vibrational conversation of where things come from. So if we want to live a life of joy, we have to find the courage to break the agreements that limit us and choose new agreements based on love. When we are finally ready to do this, there are 4 agreements we can make that help us reclaim our personal freedom. Based on ancient Toltec wisdom, the 4 agreements offer a simple code of conduct that can transform our lives to a new experience of freedom, happiness, and love. Side note, I used to do a lot of work with codes of conduct, so I think that's pretty funny that that's in here. That's what business uses to establish how factories and vendors and things are supposed to behave. So I love this. This can be a personal, spiritual code of conduct. And then it's going to touch on what Toltec wisdom is. And we've been talking about a lot of Eastern philosophy and different spiritualities from all around the world. And so I love that we're going to go ahead and bring in, this is really South American. So thousands of years ago, the Toltecs were known throughout southern Mexico as women and men of knowledge. They were masters, and their wisdom arises from the same essential unity of truth as all sacred esoteric traditions found around the world. Though it's not a religion, it honors all spiritual masters who have taught on earth. And while it does embrace spirit, it is most accurately described as a way of life, distinguished by the ready accessibility of happiness and love. Here we go again. Happiness and love, and that these things go together and are key foundations to a flourishing life. So here we go, the first agreement. Are you ready? Be impeccable with your word. I think it's funny this comes here when I was in transformation. The first thing they would do in the first class, it was called gratitude training, but it was all about keeping your word. They spent a lot of time on it and hammering home to people, even when you're late, you're breaking your word. And in that, you're letting yourself down, you're sending a message to other people that they're not important, and we're not even really aware of that. So I really get this as a foundation to having powerful relationships and success in our lives when we say what we mean and we mean what we say. But I think it digs in even a little deeper. So let's go here. Be impeccable with your word. The first agreement is the most important one and also the most difficult one to honor. Be impeccable with your word. It sounds very simple, but it is very, very powerful. Why your word? Your word is the power that you have to create. And it's not just the spoken word here, right? It's the word that's in our imagining device, our imaging device from God. Your word is the gift that comes directly from God. There we go. Through the word, you manifest your intent, regardless of what language you speak. What you dream, what you feel, and what you really are will all be manifested through the word. And fascinatingly, this isn't connected to Abraham or any of the other things we study. And so again, we get a corroboratory, something that corroborates the other things we've been studying, that what I think and what I intend becomes my reality. The word is a force. It is the power you have to communicate, to think, and thereby to create the events in your life. The word is the most powerful tool you have, but like a sword with 2 edges, your word can create the most beautiful dream, or your word can destroy everything around you. That's a powerful metaphor. I know that's in the Bible a lot, right? The double-edged sword. One edge of the sword is the misuse of the word, which creates a living hell. The other edge is the impeccability of the word, which will only create beauty, love, and heaven on earth. We're in that conversation that hell or heaven are both conditions that we can bring in on this earth based on our thoughts. Do they come from love or do they come from fear? And everything that results from our thoughts are words. The human mind is like a fertile ground where seeds are continually being planted. Here we go. I love the metaphor, reap what we sow. Our thoughts are seeds in our mind that cause things to grow. The seeds are opinions, ideas, and concepts. The word is pure magic. We plant a seed, a thought, and it grows. Reap what you sow. Every human is a magician, and we thoughtlessly cast spells on each other all the times with our opinions. It's so beautiful to say that. We don't realize how powerful our words are to others, and that we're literally casting spells on other people that sometimes can stay for a very long time. And we get to be cautious with that. Someone gives an opinion and says, look, that child is ugly. The child listens, believes she is ugly, and grows up with this idea. It doesn't matter how beautiful she is. As long as she has that agreement, she will believe that she is ugly. That is a spell she is under. And I can get that. I've lived with a few of these spells in my life, and I'm sure you have too. And they have such power over our lives. And no matter how much evidence we're given to the contrary, it's like we still believe it. It's crazy. And when you put it into this context, I was thinking about this over the last few weeks. That's why I wanted to read it, of being under a spell. It's so powerful, and also creates a lot of motivation of how important it is to add truth and let this be broken, right? Beliefs are just thoughts we continue to think. And so someone may have put us under that spell and given us that idea, but we're the ones who continue to regurgitate and regurgitate and regurgitate, look for evidence constantly that it's true, because we're constantly thinking it, it becomes a reality for us. And so we have to be conscious of the thoughts we're thinking, not just in accordance with other people, but also what other people cause us to create, to think and listen. You know, you can get a lot of negative feedback. Think of all the negative people commenting online and how cruel they can be and how they can spin people out. And we can take that on and believe that's true and use it to hold back our light. When what are we doing? They're just spewing out who they are. They were toxic before they met you. It has nothing to do with you. So we have a duty sort of to build that barrier, not allow that spell to be cast on us, as we want to continue to be able to share our love and light and not be in fear. These types of spells are difficult to break. Whenever we hear an opinion and believe it, we make an agreement and it becomes part of our belief system. The only thing that can break a spell is to make a new agreement based on truth. The truth is the most important part of being impeccable with our word. Only the truth has the power to break the spell and set us free. Now let us see what the word impeccability means. Impeccability means without sin. Wow, I'm curious to see what his definition of sin here. I'm assuming he's going to get into it. Religions talk about sin and sinners, but let's understand what it really means to sin. A sin is anything you do which goes against yourself. That's beautiful. In the Course in Miracles, the definition of sin is a lack of love. So this Toltec is completely aligned then with the Course in Miracles and its definition of sin. Anything which goes against yourself or is showing a lack of love for yourself. You go against yourself when you judge or blame or reject yourself. Really puts saying we have a sinful nature or being a sinner in a whole different perspective, doesn't it? Because we tend to beat ourselves up about that, and we let it actually become a source of additional judgment and blame and rejecting that we've sinned, when in actuality the judging and the rejecting and the blaming is the sin in and of itself. Self-rejection is one of the biggest sins you can commit. Being impeccable is exactly the opposite. You take responsibility for your actions, but you do not judge, blame, or reject yourself. I love that. You just take accountability or ownership. Being impeccable with your word means using your energy in the direction of truth and love for yourself. If I see you in the street and I call you stupid, it appears that I'm using the word against you. But really, I'm using my word against myself. Because you're going to hate me, and your hating me is not good for me. Judge not, lest ye be judged. This is getting into the golden rule, right? The karma, like do unto others as we want them to do, or do unto others as you want them to do unto you, because that is what will be done to you. Therefore, if I get angry and with my words send that emotional poison to you, I'm using the word against myself. If I love myself, I will express that love in my interactions with you. And then I am being impeccable with the word, because that action will produce a like reaction. If I love you, then you will love me. If I insult you, you will insult me. If I'm selfish with you, you will be selfish with me. If I use the word to put a spell on you, you are going to put a spell on me. You can measure the impeccability of your word by your level of self-love. How much you love yourself and how you feel about yourself is directly proportionate to the quality and integrity of your word. When you speak with integrity and say exactly what you mean, you are impeccable with your word. You feel good, you feel happy and at peace. How many people are saying what they really think these days? I feel like everybody's swallowing what they really want to say, but when it's said out of love, it can only produce love, and we still get to speak and express who we are. Being impeccable with your word also means to refrain from spreading gossip, character assassination. Gossip can be compared to a computer virus. A virus is a piece of a computer language written with a harmful intent. This code is inserted into the program of your computer without your awareness. After this code has been introduced, your computer doesn't work right anymore. In the same way, one little piece of misinformation can break down communication between people, causing every person it touches to become infected and contagious to others. Funny, I've used that analogy for other things. If you make an agreement with yourself to be impeccable with your word, just with that intention, the truth will manifest through you and clean all the emotional poison within you. When you follow this agreement, you begin to see all the changes that can happen in your life. First, in the way you deal with yourself, and later in the way you deal with other people, especially those you love the most. Impeccability of the word can lead you to personal freedom, to huge success and abundance. It can take away all fear and transform it into joy and love. You can attain the kingdom of heaven from this one agreement. Be impeccable with your word. God, that is beautiful, isn't it? And isn't that what we're up to, attaining the kingdom of heaven here on earth? Happiness, joy, love. And it comes with, and when we think of, first when you hear it, be impeccable with the word, you do think about how you speak to other people. But as it says here, it starts with how we think and speak to ourselves. It's an internal game that then is projected out. So I can only project out how I feel about myself. So my point of power is really changing. How I feel about myself and how I think about others is a piece of that. But really changing who I am in relationship with myself and not sinning. So not judging, blaming, or rejecting myself, showing myself lots of love. So, all right, that's it. That's the first agreement. Be impeccable with your word. You can do it. I know you can.